The Particular Abilities of Marinette and Her Discovery of Them by Planter Fun 06, A Miraculous Ladybug, Batman, Crossover Fanfic. Chapter 16, Bonus Chapter, Interview. Marinette DuPage Chang, the gymnast you have to see to believe. Civil Martin, TVi Sports. Published February 14th at 7 p.m. Audio to text transcript. Just a month ago, she was declared the champion at this year's Championnat de France Gymnastics and made international headlines. Today, we are meeting with an up-and-coming gymnast and a social media influencer, Marinette DuPage Chang. But it wasn't just her skills that set her apart from the competition. Marinette was rendered completely blind by vitriol as a child. Today, we will be sitting down and talking with Marinette about her experiences as one of France's highest-ranked gymnasts. Martin. Hello, Marinette. How are you doing today? DuPage Chang. I'm great, Civil. A bit nervous, if anything. How about you? I'm excellent. Thank you for asking. And do not worry about being nervous. Almost everyone is at the beginning of an interview, but they all do just great. Let's start this interview with a basic question. What inspired you to become a gymnast? DuPage Chang. Well, I've always enjoyed doing tricks. I was about 3-ish when I did my first cartwheel. I always enjoyed the feel of it, and I've always gotten a really big sense of accomplishment when I've completed my tricks correctly. I was about 5 when I actually got into classes. Martin. What motivates you to continue to be a gymnast? DuPage Chang. If we're talking about what motivates me to do all the competitions and keep striving to be better every day, it would probably be the people who put me down. People have always told me I am less than. People have told me that I am not good enough. People have taken one look and rejected me. People have called me names and slurs. People have acted as if I am worth nothing. Every time I go into the gym, every time I walk into a competition, every time I accept a medal, it is because of them. It is my way of telling them that I am good enough, that I am worth something. It's my way of telling him that they were wrong. Martin. Well, I'm sure they're feeling sorry for themselves now. Do you have a hero or idol when it comes to gymnastics? DuPage Chang. Probably. No, definitely. Simone Biles. When I first heard about her, I thought either my teammates were joking, or they were reading some article wrong, or they wrote it wrong or something. It was the Yurchenko double pike, if I remember correctly. Gymnastics is a dangerous sport, period. But with me, and the fact that I'm not able to actually see where the ground, or beam, or vault is, it can be especially dangerous. I'd like to think that I know very well what the human body is capable of. More than the average gymnast, at least. I have quite literally studied it, and I didn't believe that it was humanly possible for someone to do that. It was over a year ago, but I remember making the instructor watch the video and tell me her moves step by step. Ever since then, I've idolized her. I always read a bunch of articles after her competitions to see what her routine was. Then, the next few days, I try to replicate the parts I can, and some of her more complex tricks on the beam and floor. Martin. Oh, and how do those go? DuPage Chang. Sometimes they go good. I've actually surprised myself, and have been able to land a few perfectly on the first go. Other times, I end up having to wrap an ankle or a wrist. Martin. Oh no! DuPage Chang. I wouldn't worry too much. I've always been quick when it comes to healing it from injuries. A day or two and I'm back at 100%. Martin. Well, that's certainly a good thing. Speaking of our strengths, what are some of yours that make you a good athlete? DuPage Chang. I've always had really good technique. I'm very precise. I have good muscle control, and I'm very good at understanding what my coaches and instructors mean when they are making corrections. Good at applying those corrections. It's really important when you're going off pretty much solely words. Martin. That's a big strength right there. What do you see yourself accomplishing in 5 to 10 years? DuPage Chang. Well, if we're talking about goals, I want to make the French Olympic women's gymnastic team. I think I'll be able to do it if I'm able to keep my pace of advancement up. There's nothing I want more than to be there with all these different athletes who have dedicated their lives to their sport and who have become some of the best in the world. If I'm up there with them, it means that I've become one of the best too. Martin. Well, just by looking at some of your recent routines, I'd say you're on your way there, in my unprofessional opinion at least. Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of gymnastics? Tupeng Chang. My parents are bakers. We have a family bakery, so I work there often. I've always enjoyed it. My friends and I go out all the time. Movies, ice cream, amusement parks, you name it, odds are we've done it at some point. I stay over at my friends' houses more often than I'm at my own. I also love learning languages. Martin. Oh, really? What languages can you speak? Well, if we're talking about fluency, I'm fluent in French, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, English, and Japanese. But I can hold a conversation in Vietnamese, Portuguese, Russian, and I'm starting Hindi. I can type in them too, though in all of those I can only really read Braille in French and Chinese. So maybe fluency isn't the correct word, at least for someone like me. Martin. Still, that's impressive, especially for someone your age. How do you manage your athletic responsibilities and other recreational and non-recreational activities? Tupeng Chang. Well, school always comes first, of course. I'm also pretty structured. Odds are that before I even wake up, there's a complete plan for the day. But if you're really asking, I have no idea. Everything just somehow works out. I'll admit to having struggled a bit, but I'm just really lucky I'm not too overworked. I have a really good support network that makes sure I'm never pushing myself too hard, though. Martin. That's very important. What was your biggest struggle during your journey to becoming the gymnast you are today? Tupeng Chang. The pushback. Most definitely the pushback. Finding a competitive gym that would accept me was ridiculous. They would take one look at me and tell me no. They wouldn't look at anything either. They wouldn't let me come to tryouts, wouldn't let me show them my skills, wouldn't even watch the videos we had for them. Nothing. Even when I did get on a team, I had to go to hell and back to get a chance to compete. They couldn't risk me getting hurt during a competition. They could really easily get in trouble, because they could argue that they knowingly put me into a position of possible injury, even if gymnastics is already a dangerous sport, not to even mention the number of competitions that wouldn't let me compete. My parents, gosh, my wonderful, amazing, absolutely marvelous parents are the only reason I'm the gymnast I am today. They never took anything lying down, and wouldn't let me either. The number of screaming matches they got into over me, I've lost count over the years. The number of times they had quite literally pulled out a law book. They carry one around and go through it talking about how they can't legally deny me is hilarious. I am so unimaginably grateful for everything they have done to get me here. Martin, what do you think is the greatest struggle that young athletes face today? Tupeng Chang. Work-life balance, probably. I am incredibly fortunate to have the support system I have, but even I sometimes get overwhelmed. It can get really hard because you're expected to go through school, and not only that, do incredibly well. There is like this looming threat over your head. If you dare get less than perfect, you'll lose your chance to do any of your sport. It can be overwhelming to have school to focus on, when sometimes they can pile hours of homework or study on you, along with athletics, which can sometimes be 4-hour-long practices on school days, and they have to do exceedingly well in both. I'll admit to having to pull more than a few all-nighters. Martin. Many people call you a role model, an inspiration. Some even call you an icon for not only the blind community, but the entire handicapped community as a whole. Do you consider yourself one? Tupeng Chang. I have to say I don't really know how to respond to that. Not really. When I think of myself, role model, inspiration, and icon aren't exactly words that come to mind. When I made the choice to do competitive gymnastics, and later to pursue becoming a professional gymnast, It was not with the goal in mind to becoming anything to anyone. I started doing this simply because I love gymnastics, and I want everyone else to see how much I love it too. But if there is someone out there like me, someone out there who gets the pushback I did, not just in sports, but in every other aspect of life, if I can be that sign that you can do it, if I can be that sign that it's possible, if I can be the inspiration to keep them pushing, then I am more than willing to become their icon.